So at this point, have you got any diagnosis?
I got a diagnosis when I was 14 years old of Arnold chiari malformation. Basically, the base of my skull, I think it's like not got enough room in it. So what happens if your brain slumps down into your spinal canal?
Is this the medical people are saying this? Or
yeah, doctors, yeah. At one point, I'd been admitted to the hospital because my pain levels were so high, I was struggling to move. One of the consultants I was under came in with about, got to say, at least 20 junior student doctors, and he stood there with all those people and told me I was an attention seeker and he was not going to do anything for me, and he walked out.
Have you ever had an apology from him?
No.
Oh, Jamie. I mean, that is such a... Okay, so hello, Jamie. I know you're a little bit nervous. Am I right in saying that there's no way you would have been doing this, talking to me a few years ago?
Definitely not, no. Yeah, I'd even say even a year ago, no. I always knew I was different, but I wasn't sure why, which caused a lot of anxiety starting around the age of 6 years old. But it wasn't till I was 10 that I realised that I was not well. So I grew up thinking that you know, after running around with my friends, it was normal that everybody experienced pain afterwards, that everybody's heads were throbbing. But it got to the point where the pain was unmanageable. It was getting too much. And I was kind of thinking, well, if I feel like this, if I feel like I want to complain, why aren't other people? So like I obviously spoke up and realised, you know, that I shouldn't be feeling this way.
Was there any information from your parents or from the hospitals or doctors or anything for you to be able to understand the pain that you were in? I mean, were you being heard at home or school around the pain?
At home I was, at school and by the medical professionals, definitely not, no.
So did your mom know what was wrong? Were you trying to find information at home?
We were trying to look into things. We were trying to do everything that we could. Both my parents have been like really supportive ever since I was young. But regards to the teachers at school understanding and getting medical professionals to listen to me, we just didn't get anywhere. But all through that, despite like everybody else, like my family always believed me and they always carried on trying to help me find answers, and it took a very long time.
Well, thank goodness you had the support of your parents.
Yeah.
But it seems as though throughout those younger years there was no answer to what was wrong with you.
No.
Can you just explain a little bit, if you can, about what was going on with you, what you felt like and what it was like for you as a little girl?
Well, like, I wouldn't say when I was quite young it didn't stop me living, because like I said, like I thought it was completely normal, that it was just something I had to put up with regarding the pain. But I also suffered a lot of sickness as well, which I did not understand. It would come on completely randomly, which is where my anxiety came in. It sounds really weird, but I have a phobia of being sick. I'm not sure exactly why that happened yet, but I'm guessing that I think like I used to be sick at school, and I don't think it was dealt with in a very good way. It was kind of like unnecessary for them, if you know what I mean. So I developed this big anxiety around it. You know, at school they did not help with it whatsoever. So one of my ways for me to control this anxiety was to not eat. So I would eat comfortably at home, because I knew if I was sick at home, I wouldn't get, even though I was scared of it, I wouldn't get the attention that I would at school, the negative attention. So while I was out, I would not eat. So I'd go through the school day. I would not touch anything. And this was obviously picked up on at school, and they did not deal with it very well whatsoever. So like as a young child starting from 6, I became like very good at pretending that I'd eaten, at hiding my food, stuff like that. But one time they did used to sit and watch me eat, which obviously made me way more uncomfortable. But one time they found out that I hadn't eaten. This is something like I always remember. It was wet play, so everybody had to stay inside. And I'd been told to sit on like these mats at the back of the hall. And they brought out the TV and put the TV like next to where I was sitting, but facing the other way. So all the other kids obviously come in facing my direction to watch the telly, but they'd sat me down there to force me to eat my lunch. But obviously I felt like all these kids were just obviously watching me. Yeah, so things did just get a lot worse, and it is still something that I am working on now. Look, it has got a lot better, but at that young age, I obviously did not understand that it was anxiety that I was experiencing, why I was experiencing it. So I just kind of lived with it because I thought that's the way that I was, and that was it. It wasn't until I was around 18 that I started seeing more things about mental health and saw stuff on anxiety and stuff, and realised, oh, hang on, like that's what I've got and I can do stuff to help myself.
It seems to me as though that situation that you were put in at school that was totally out of your control and forced upon by the authorities would have been a very traumatic event for you.
Yeah. I mean, I had comments off dinner ladies, teachers, that I was attention seeking, this, that, and the other. Like when that was the last thing that I wanted. Like I just wanted them to leave me alone. Like I used to be like, so anxious in the mornings to go to school. Not just because of the eating issue now, but because of how it was dealt with by the people at the school. Like I was just like absolutely terrified. Like other than that, I got on really well at the school, like during playtime, during lessons, but I just had all this anxiety around food over dinner times, break times. Yeah, it just like it controlled every aspect of my life. It was like I had to. It was like now it's like if I'm going out, oh, I can't eat. I've got to wait until I come back. And it's still something I'm reteaching myself that, I can eat before I go out. And I'm slowly getting there.
Was this all the way through your schooling, like secondary school?
So secondary school, I coped with it quite well, until I would say I was in year 9 when things started to deteriorate pain-wise. I like at first it was just I missed a couple of days here and there, but because it was year 9, it was next year we started our GCSEs. So we were doing quite important things. So it was like I'd missed a couple of days, but when I came in, I didn't have the support there in place to let me know what had been going on. So the more days I missed, I was more reluctant to go in, even when I was feeling up to it, because I knew that I'd just be sitting there not knowing what was going on, because there was no support in place whatsoever. This gradually got worse, going over to year 10, and it got to the point where I hadn't been into school at all for about 3 months because I just could not face it. I was always somebody, I did really care about my education. I really wanted to do well, but because I didn't have the support to catch up and keep me where I needed to be, I just felt so overwhelmed. And with my anxiety too, I couldn't deal with it, so I didn't go in. This did lead to them referring me onto like a pupil referral unit. I don't know if you've heard of James Brindley.
Mm.
They've got like different sections to the school. So I went to the homeschooling unit, which only required me to go in half a day. Some of the children at the school obviously did have different sorts of issues, whereas I was somebody, I just wanted to get stuck in and just get it done. And not everybody else was like that. Obviously they all had their own issues, so stuff wasn't always done. And when you've got a chronic illness, like, my thought process is kind of like, if I'm not getting anything out of it, I'm not doing it, because it drains me of my energy. So I'm not wasting my time on it. So I've just kind of given up on school. I did pass my GCSEs, like mostly C's, so that was okay. And I went on to college, and I have to say that the college that I went to were really, really supportive. And obviously it was something I wanted to do. I really enjoyed myself. But I did end up having to drop out because my pain, even at the point I was in college, I still hadn't got any medical help that I needed. And it was all just too much, so I had to unfortunately give it up.
So at this point, have you got any diagnosis?
I got a diagnosis when I was 14 years old of Arnold chiari malformation. So basically the base of my skull, I think it's like not got enough room in it. So what happens if your brain slumps down into your spinal canal, which causes bad headaches. But I was constantly fobbed off. I can't even tell you how many different neurosurgeons and neurologists I saw. But yeah, from the off, it was, you're an attention seeker. It's just a coincidence that you've got this condition.
Is this the medical people are saying this? Or
yeah, doctors, yeah. At one point, I'd been admitted to the hospital because my pain levels were so high, I was struggling to move. One of the consultants I was under came in with about, got to say, at least 20 junior student doctors, and he stood there with all those people with him and told me I was an attention seeker. And he was not going to do anything for me, and he walked out.
Have you ever had an apology from him?
No, I was about 14 at the time. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Oh, Jamie. I mean, that is such a vulnerable, sensitive age as it is.
Yeah, I mean, I'd already been fobbed off a lot at that point, and I was literally like in despair. I did not know what to do. I didn't think I was ever going to get any help for my health. I was just so angry at everybody, at the world, like I just kind of had to like turn off my emotions, because I didn't want these people to know that they were getting to me. So I kind of just switched off, like emotionally, like.
I think it comes in where I've mentioned how you wouldn't have been speaking to me. I mean, was that part of you shutting off your emotions? Did you just didn't speak them out? You just didn't, is that right?
I just kept everything to myself, especially when it came to things regarding my illness. I just kept it to myself. I mean, I did start to shut off from some of my friends, so I'd stop going out. You know, like I got my circle got less and less, like partly due to my mental health, but partly due to the fact that I just wasn't well enough to keep up with everything.
When did you start getting your chronic illness, when did you start being believed?
I'd say probably only about 4 years ago. I'd just like to say at first, things didn't turn out great in the end, but I did get answers. So I already knew that I had this chiari malformation. And obviously, you know, there's loads of online forums looking into things. I discovered that a lot of people with chiari malformation were going over to America and Barcelona to get their surgeries done, because they were unable to get the help over here. I had previously looked into America, but it was very costly, and there's obviously the distance to consider when you're not very well. So yeah, it was just over 4 years ago I got in contact with a neurosurgeon in Barcelona to look into my head problems, and he came back to me telling me that he thought I had other conditions that a lot of other people that have been diagnosed with chiari also have, which was my main condition, which is Ehlers danlos syndrome. So basically, the collagen in my body, which is it's like your body's glue, it holds everything together. It's not very good at doing its job, basically. So you can then go on to suffer secondary conditions. So he then told me that I had spinal instability. I also ended up getting a couple of other diagnoses, PARTS, which is like a fast heart rate, and it causes me to nearly pass out. Yeah, I ended up going ahead and having the operation, which I've ended up regretting, but then again not, because I don't think I'd be where I would be now if everything that hadn't happened to me didn't happen. So I got this surgery coming up to 4 years now, and from the off, it caused me more problems than I had previously. So he also did the part for the chiari malformation, the back of my skull, which did help the pain regarding that. But I had my spine fused from my skull down to my fifth vertebra, and it just, like, I know obviously like metalwork in your head is not supposed to be comfortable, but I just felt really uncomfortable. But at first, again, I didn't speak up and say this is how I'm feeling. Partly because I didn't know how I was supposed to feel after this. I wasn't given any information or anything like that. And also I felt quite guilty that obviously my mum and dad and a lot of other people had put in towards a lot of money to help me get this surgery. And I still didn't feel okay. So I'd say for about a good 3 years, I just put up with this. But then things started to get really bad. My lower spine started to really hurt. So, like I finally spoke up and said, you know, my spine doesn't feel good, my neck doesn't feel good. I want this out of my head. Like I don't want it anymore. Which I didn't know was possible to have it taken out or not. So we looked into it again, and we discovered that there was now a neurosurgeon in this country operating on people with my conditions. So I went down and saw him, but again it was private. And he believes that I have been fused in the wrong position, so that I'd been fused with my head slightly forwards, which was causing all the pain. And he'd also put the screws at the back of my head too high up. That was another thing I'd also absolutely did my head in, was I could not get comfortable because I got these 2 screws either side the back of my head.
So was there no like aftercare then from Barcelona? Because there would have been scans surely, and
yeah, but I sent him the scan after speaking to the neurosurgeon here, and they kept telling me everything's fine. But I just knew it wasn't. Like, I did not feel right at all. So I went away from that appointment feeling a bit, you know, because again, it was private. It's going to cost money. So not long after that, this is when I started getting properly into like more the spiritual side of me. So I decided I just wanted to change my complete mindset about my health. Because of my experiences, I always walked into a doctor's appointment assuming the worst. So I'd already decided they weren't going to help me before I'd even got there. I decided to change my complete outlook. I started journaling, and I started writing about how I was going to get good help. I was going to get the help I needed. My health was going to start to improve.
You said that you decided to change your mindset. Was there something that you read or that happened that helped you or guided you to go that way?
Well, actually, I had seen it was an advert on Instagram for a website. I think it's called the Lifestyle Club. So she was doing like a free trial kind of thing. So it was, I'm trying to think, a 25-day advent calendar kind of thing on things to help raise your vibrations. So it got into like gratitude and journaling and all this different kind of stuff, which is where it started. And I felt so much better after those 25 days that I carried it on. Yeah, and I'm glad I did. I'm glad I found it.
I'm so glad you found it.
Because
I'm so glad.
I think it was about 2 months after I started journaling, and after I'd seen this private doctor, one of one of the screws at the back of my head actually came loose, which led me to ringing the neurosurgeon that I'm under at the NHS. Like, I'm under one, but they just regularly check on me, but haven't done anything to help. I wasn't sure whether they were going to do anything or not. I was quite anxious. But he had me in within a week of my phone call to check me over. And he told me that it needed to come out urgently. Not very urgent, because I'm still waiting, but I'll get into that in a minute. So yeah, because of COVID and that, like, things kept getting put off. But he decided that instead of fixing the metalwork in my head, he wanted to take it all out. And he's not sure whether it will give me full mobility back, because like, the bones are fused, so I can't move my head any further than that at the moment. But he didn't believe that I needed that part of the operation done. So his plan is to take it all out and see how I get on without it, which I felt was right. Like, I want to see how I get on without it. But he says the option is always there if I need it to have it redone. So I think it was back in the end of July, it actually got booked in. I went to the hospital. I waited 6.5 hours in the admissions lounge because they'd lost a piece of one of the tools that they needed for the surgery. I was supposed to be first on the list. I finally get taken down. Not long later, I get put to sleep. Not long later, I'm woken up again. They were unable to get the intubation tube down my throat. So they were unable to do the surgery. So went back home. And I've been nagging at them since, and I'm not entirely sure what is going on now, because it was me that rang them, and I was given the news that my operation has now been cancelled. I've been taken off the list for the operation, even though I was told it was urgent. And they've referred me on to another doctor for a second opinion. So this was only a couple of days ago. So it's like, I'm kind of fuming at first, like, why is this happening? But after it happened, I was sitting in my bed, trying to come to terms with, like, I was just really confused. And I turned over, and there was this little black and white feather there. So obviously I get in touch with Kim.
We'll talk about Kim in a minute.
Yeah. And yeah, like, she reckons it's a good sign. So although I don't know what's going to happen, I've got to wait till the end of the month for my appointment. But I'm really trying to hold on to that hope that has got me through the last year, that things will turn out my way and I will still get the help. And it's just the universe throwing another obstacle at me.
Yeah. Maybe the mindset work, the journaling, was part of the journey to finding Kim.
I actually previously had gone to Kim prior to having my surgery. So I was in quite a bad place then. I didn't believe I was ever going to get better, kind of thing. And I would just say, like, even though I believed there was a spiritual side to things, I didn't believe it was this big. And I didn't realise, like, how much it could change my life. I wasn't ready for that. So I saw Kim a couple of times, but, like, I was in a really bad place. I was terrified to leave the house. So in the end, after a few sessions, I didn't end up going back. And it was when obviously I got into my journaling, Kim just popped into my mind, and I was like, I've got to go back and see Kim. Yeah, I mean, it's been around a year now as well since I've been seeing Kim again.
So let's talk a little bit about the journaling first.
So I'll journal in different ways. So when I'm anxious or angry or feeling any kind of like negative emotion, I'll write everything down that's in my head. I'll just rant and rave and say what I've got to say, write it all down. And it's like once I've written it, it's like a release, like I feel relieved. It helps calm me down, it helps make me feel better. And then the other things I try to do every day, to keep my mind focused on the positives, is I always try to do gratitude every day. And another thing that I enjoy that I learned about from this website that was doing the free calendar thing, was dream day journaling. So it's basically you write a little story about yourself in the present tense, literally about anything you dream day, where you want to be living, what you want to be doing, maybe just what you feel like you would want to do that day, like be about anything. And it really does, like, imagining yourself doing that right now, it does make you feel so much better. It's like you're in your own little world. And obviously eventually they come true.
Well, I'll just say on this, with all my learnings of the unconscious mind, the unconscious doesn't actually know whether it's true or not.
Yeah.
So you're putting out there that you're living this dream life.
Yeah.
It's going to have an effect, a positive effect on every cell in your body, because your unconscious mind is, oh, this is good.
Well, it was last year I started writing about how amazing my health was going to be. And like I said, I've been hopefully getting the help with my spine and my neck. But I also found out about something else that's causing me a lot of problems that I did not have a clue about. So I found out that I also suffer from Tmj disorder, which is related to my jaw, which causes really, really bad headaches, like facial pain, all different kinds of things, neck and shoulder pain, things you wouldn't think it would cause. And it was actually through an old friend that I went to school with. She works as a dental nurse, that I got the help that I needed through her. So I had this thing to help my jaw come into the correct position. So I'm still using it now, but already there's like been a massive difference to my pain levels. I had no idea that it was coming from my jaw because it radiates to so many different places. It's hard to pinpoint where it's coming from.
And it saddens me to just go back and think about how you were called an attention seeker, how you were made to forced to eat, and just so unheard. You were not acknowledged in any way that a child should have been. You weren't understood. I want to talk a little bit about what can be done to ensure that this doesn't happen to other children that are going through. And I'm a big believer that, like what you said, and you touched on it, yeah, it was horrific, the whole Barcelona experience. But once you can look back at the bigger picture, you can see the gifts. And if that hadn't have happened, then maybe this wouldn't have happened and that wouldn't have happened. If that wouldn't have happened, then you wouldn't be where you are now. And I see my whole life as a gift now. You know, the work that I'm doing, I would never want to go through it again. But at the same time, I wouldn't change it, because I wouldn't be here with my passion for helping children and survivors if I hadn't have gone through the trauma myself. So I feel that, you know, we'll talk a bit about that, because schools need people like you. They really do. And I think that's where another load of chills were coming through when I was talking to you on the phone. Okay, so Kim, quantum therapy. We're going to talk a bit about that. How did you find out about this?
So I first found out about it was somebody that was actually helping me fundraise towards my surgery. Like a friend of a friend, she'd been seeing Kim, and I'd seen her at one of the fundraisers, and she just said she passed on her details, and this woman, she suffered from fibromyalgia, and she was saying, you know, Kim's really helped me. I think, you know, it'd be good if you went and to see her. And at first I was very skeptical. I was kind of like, nothing's helped before. Like, why do you think this is going to help? Like, no, but it's definitely completely changed my life. It's definitely been a massive part of my journey.
What did Kim do that was different?
She listens. She listens to everything that I've got to say. Yeah, and not to mention the quantum therapy is amazing. It just feels like you can just feel it. The negative energy leaving your body, but then you can feel like all the positive energy, and it's just so relaxing. And I feel so peaceful ever since I've started. Yeah, I just feel like more at peace. I feel less hectic in my head. It's definitely just talking to her. We normally have a chat as she does it, and yeah, I can say whatever I want to Kim. There's no judgment. All she ever does is listen. It's made a big difference having somebody for me to talk to that's outside of my family.
Because was it your mum that used to do a lot of the talking for you?
Yeah, all the time. She'd be talking to you now for me on this podcast a couple of years ago, but yeah, just in this last year, that's massively changed. So the beginning of the year, my mum still came to the appointments with me to see Kim. I didn't want to go on my own. But then that's I started talking. I'd already started talking up for myself more. And now it's gone to I go and see Kim on my own. Which is when I first saw her a couple of years ago. Yeah, I barely said a word to her. Everything that was said, if she asked me a question, I'd look straight at my mum. And it was up to my mum to answer. And I do think that partly came from the fact that I was ignored so much from the medical professionals. So, like what I said, it just got overlooked. So more and more, it was just like, I'm not gonna say how I'm feeling. I'm just gonna keep it in. So when we were at like my medical appointments, anything like that, it was my mum telling them what I was going through, what I was feeling. I'd just sit there in silence.
Wow. Would you say that the whole process with Kim has helped, and the energy works helped with your confidence?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, like I said, even a year ago, I would not have been doing, like, no way would I have done this. Make all my phone calls for myself now. I speak up when I'm at my appointments. Yeah. Told the woman off on the phone the other day about my surgery being cancelled and nobody letting me know. So, yeah.
And you're doing your first podcast?
Yeah. So definitely a lot more confident than I was. And that's definitely grown massively in the last year.
So you're doing your journaling, is it a daily thing? Is it something you're very consistent with?
Yeah, I try to be as consistent as I can. Like, obviously I do have slip-ups, but I do notice. So if I haven't journaled for a bit, I can feel like my emotions building up, and I know it's time to get my journal back out. But I've spoke to Kim, and I definitely want her to teach me what she does. I would love to go on to help people, but another thing that I'm also massively passionate about, which I haven't mentioned, is animals. They've been a massive part of helping me. Obviously, through all the times I was ill, I still had to get up every day to look after them all. Which I've spoken about with Kim, is something I'd like to do on animals too. But again, I'm not sure, but I know that I want to help people and animals in some way that I can.
This Ehlers danlos syndrome.
Yeah.
How many people are affected by this? And is it something that is recognised now?
It is starting to get more recognition, very slowly, but it is getting there with recognition. It was actually considered to be quite rare, but I think now that there's more recognition, more knowledge, it's appearing that more and more people do have it. So one of the things that it affects, like your joints and that. So obviously some people are affected more extremely than others. Some people it's just mild. So everybody's completely different. So I always grew up and I had clicky joints. I thought that was normal. I did not question it, but it is a symptom of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. So I kind of do think, like, growing up, children need to be like more aware of how their bodies are supposed to work, because as someone that's born with a chronic illness, like, you've never known any different. You don't know that your body's not working properly. Like, that's all you've ever known. So I do think that there needs to be more information, so that people get diagnosed as young as they can, to hopefully get the help that they need, and to prevent progression of some of the other conditions that it can cause,
and to prevent the trauma
yeah,
from occurring, and for them to speak out that they, yeah. But so your story, I believe, could have a huge impact in schools. Is that something that you've thought about doing?
I haven't thought about it, no, but I definitely do agree that there needs to be a lot more said in schools. So it is definitely something that I would really think about, because obviously, I'm sure there's plenty of other children that are in the same position that I was in, and to know that obviously they're not alone and that there is help out there. Yeah, that I'd definitely consider it, even if it just helped one person.
What would you say to those that are feeling the anxiety that you felt? I can't get away from what you went through at 14, and I also can't turn my heart off what's happening to so many young adults, male and female, going through anxiety, mental health issues. Is there anything that you can say? I mean, you've said a lot already, which I'm sure if they listen to the whole lot through, they'll be definitely inspired. But what would you say to them, Jamie?
To not try and avoid the emotion, because I think it only amplifies it. So I would avoid my anxiety as much as possible, and it would be building up inside of me, and suddenly, like, it would obviously turn into a gigantic panic attack. Whereas like beforehand, before coming onto this podcast, I felt anxious. instead of avoiding my anxiety, I let myself feel my anxiety, and it's not half as bad as it is if I try to stop it.
Yeah. And that's the whole thing with trauma that I'm learning with children. Children can bounce back if they are aware of what's actually happening at the time, and if they can talk to someone about it, somehow release it then.
Yeah.
So I'm so excited for you.
I do know that I'm going to get there. I know.
You are going to get there.
Yeah.
So I thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming on and talking to me. I really, really do.
Well, I'm really grateful to put my story out there and to hopefully inspire somebody to get their journal out, or just to know that there is more. You might feel like in absolute despair, but it will end and things will get better.
It will end and things will get better. You've gotten your story across really well, and I really do think you're going to help more than one person.
I hope so. I would like to say that if anyone is interested in journaling and obviously doesn't want to commit to paying for something, even just like apps like TikTok, if you go onto TikTok and type in journal prompts, which is sometimes what I do, if I've got less time, there's plenty of videos with different prompts on there related to all different kinds of things. So it's good to just have a good look through that kind of stuff, to see if there's anything you find that you feel you need to work on.
Well, good luck with everything. I'm so glad you've got the support there where you are now, and that you can go off here, go and make yourself a cup of tea, have a glass of wine, whatever it is that tickles you, and keep that beautiful smile on your face, because you really have done a fabulous job here on Searching for Truth. You should be exceptionally proud of yourself. And
my mood's completely changed to when I started. I was like so anxious, but now I'm like, yeah.
I can see it. Yeah. From the bottom of my heart, thank you.
I hope it reaches somebody that it needs to.
Without a doubt. Please share this podcast or video to whoever you think it will benefit. There's so many young adults right now struggling with mental health, not getting the medical attention that they deserve because of what's going on in the world, and are struggling mentally. And it may just be this interview that helps that one person turn and see that there is another way. And we've all got our part to play. I will put the information of Kim Roberts and quantum therapy in the comments, as I said. So from me to you, I'm going to say goodbye, and please do like and subscribe, share, and I will be back with my next episode, Searching for Truth. Take care. Goodbye.